folks, I want to do a quick video on the futures contracts that were signed actually a little while ago. We wanted to talk a little bit more about it, but again, I was kind of hoping we'd have a head coach talked about it this time. I know all of us are sitting around just like SpongeBob right here, just waiting to find out who our next head coach and general manager will be. Again, this conversation I'm going to have with you right now is really going to be incumbent on, whoever that is, right? Moving forward. Again, we all think Jim Harbaugh is our guy. We do know that he has a second interview, folks. So we're excited to see how that plays out. Again, everyone that I follow, Adam Schefter, Pelissero, everyone says they're just hammering out the final bits of details of what he wants. Again, he's asking a lot. Now, one other guy that I would say that I do like a lot if we don't get Harbaugh is Mike Vrabel. So a lot to discuss on this. I want to talk about the futures contracts, what it means, and really, why it matters, right? Again, you have to have depth as a team to be successful. So guys, as always, let's get into it.
Bull Bros.
Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I'm Andrew Bull Bros. So what does this really mean specifically? These are future contracts in 2023. NFL players who sign reserve or futures contracts with the team means they'll be signed for training camp, okay, up to training camp. But that does not mean that they're going to be there in the season, right? So they're just given an opportunity to try to make a spot come next season. And again, it does give us the opportunity, to retain these players also, because if you were to release them, then other teams could pick them up. So these are the 11 players that we wanted to actually bring back. Pretty interesting. I mean, one of them is CJ Okoye. CJ Okoye doesn't actually count to the 10 that you normally can have moving forward. So let's talk about the futures players at this point. One, our boy. Everyone loves this guy, dude. Everyone loves this guy. Everyone wants him to be on the team. We all know this. Elijah Dotson. Well, Elijah Dotson is back. Well, not back with the team, but again, he's going to be part of the team moving forward. Why did he not get a lot of playing time this year? I really have no idea, guys. I mean, honestly, I think probably it's because we had Austin Eckler, and the thought was, hey, it's Austin Eckler, right? And so we don't really need to suit up Elijah Dotson. But I think Elijah Dotson and Isaiah Spiller are really going to get a lot of playing time. Don't know what's going to happen with Joshua Kelly moving forward. Again, next head coach, GM's going to make that decision. But at this moment, we have him on the team as well. I do think if Harbaugh is drafted, if he is selected as our head coach, he probably will draft another running back as well. Maybe his guy from Michigan. Who knows? So we'll see how that plays out as well, too. But a lot to be said about Elijah Dotson. I'm glad we retained him. I think he's a smart pickup. And again, he's cheap at this point. We're not paying him a lot of money. Another guy, Brevin Allen. I love Brevin Allen. Very raw. I think he would do very well if he had someone like Jim Harbaugh. This guy's a freak of nature. I mean, he has all the physical talents. He's not like Quentin Johnston, a bit raw, right? Andrew Farmer and Brevin Allen both I really like because they're just raw players. They just really have, a lot of ability. They just have to put it together. And someone like a Harbaugh or, maybe Justin Binsner comes in or even a Mike Vrabel and his defense, I think he could do fairly well. So, but I think Brevin Allen is one of those guys that I think really can be one of those dudes to just really step up and have a nice breakout season. Undrafted free agent, very cheap. Why not keep him? And give him an opportunity to go to some camps. They could groom him a little bit more in the offseason. Clearly once the head coach and general manager is picked up, they can, send these guys to camps. Next guy is Christopher Hinton, Michigan guy. I like Christopher Hinton. Some people don't particularly like him. I think he's very good. He's a very young player. I think he's a good defensive lineman. You need defensive linemen for depth moving forward, but I think Christopher Hinton is a good piece of the puzzle. I don't think he's the full answer, but I do think he's a big part of what the Chargers can do moving forward. Next up, everyone's favorite, Gerard Clark, dude. Everyone loves Gerard Clark, right? And the thing about Gerard Clark, man, is look, he's a ball of goo. Look at this. I mean, that's a lot of midsection right there. A lot of butt and gut right there. And I think he would work out a little bit better if he lost a little weight. Again, most of the defensive linemen that I see be very successful, very strong guys. He's strong, of course, but he's got a lot of weight to move around. I mean, I even heard rumors that when he was, the reason why he fell in the draft was largely because he showed up a little bit heavier in the combine, didn't perform as well as a lot of people expected. So, again, he's an undrafted free agent, work in progress. I think the next coaching staff's going to make some decisions on him moving forward, but I'm glad we retained him because I do think he's a nice depth piece. And I think he could be a good young, rookie. Well, he's not a rookie anymore, But you never know how the defensive scheme is moving forward. I can see him being one of those guys. So, we'll see how he progresses. I think bringing him back is a good decision. And then Max Dugan. Don't need to say much about Max. I think Max is, say what you want to say about him. I think he did not pick up the offense the way he needed to, but bringing him back is smart, right? And you definitely don't need to bring up another, uh, you know, QB moving forward. I think he's going to be good. Uh, Again, are we going to keep Will Greer? Who knows? I'm very curious to see how that happens as well too. I think Will Greer is probably a little bit better veteran guy, but I think you can have Will Greer and Max Dugan and with Justin Herbert. I think you'd be just fine moving forward. So, we'll see how that plays out. Also, Simi Fehoko. I'm really glad we brought him back. Clearly, he is friends with Justin Herbert. I think that goes a long way, and he's the tall wide receiver that the Chargers like, right? I think there's a lot to be said about Simi Fehoko, right? I mean, he's a good guy, smart guy. He went, I think he went to Stanford if I remember correctly. So he's definitely one of those dudes that is, going to be a guy that could pay dividends down the road for the Chargers moving forward. So again, I'm glad we brought him back. Whether he gets a lot of playing time, who knows? We'll see how it plays out. This guy right here, he's our offensive lineman, Brett Lang, undrafted free agent, as I understand it. Didn't get any playing time. But again, as I understand, he's also kind of a backup center as well, too. So the question is, would you keep him? We'll see how it is playing moving forward. But again, he's an offensive lineman. If you notice, a lot of this, every position has one or two guys on these, retained players moving forward. But again, I think, from what I hear, he's pretty good. Again, we didn't see him much, but I do think it's nice to see some depth moving forward. So we'll see how it progresses, come the next season, and we'll go from there. This guy right here, Hankins. I'm a big fan of Hankins. I think he's actually going to be very, very good. He played a little bit for the Chargers this season. A lot of people are very high on him moving forward. If there's one guy on this list that I would say I think has an opportunity to start the 53-man roster on this list, I think it's really him. He's done a very, very good job. He did a good job, stepping in. Again, we scooped him up off the Falcons, and he performed very well. And again, it's going to boil down to the head coaching moving forward. But I think Hankins could be a good guy moving forward. I think he's, he's got talent. He's fast. He's very young, very inexpensive. So, why not keep him as well? CJ Okoye, he's number 11. Again, not much needs to be said about him. I believe it's actually a very long contract. I think he's actually going to be able to be on the practice squad for, I believe, 3 years. The NFL really wants to see these international players develop and move forward. Again, they're trying to build out their brand, globally. And you do that by getting players like this, right? Hey, Nigeria, clearly Nigerians are going to be mostly Charger fans because of CJ Okoye moving forward. So, again, when you're building out a, team and a team culture, that's kind of how you have to make that happen. So I think there's a lot to be said about that moving forward. So again, I'm glad we retained him. Again, I believe we retained him almost at no cost. But again, it's good to see him as well. This guy's a good one as well too. I really like Chris Wilcox. Chris Wilcox is from BYU. You guys know I live in Utah, so I watch a lot of games. And Chris Wilcox is good. He's tall. He's fast. He's everything you want in a defensive back, much like a Matt Hankins, a little taller Matt Hankins, if I remember correctly. I think he's like 6'4", very quick, very fast. And I think there's a lot to be said about him as well too. But yeah, he's a little bit raw, right? Didn't do everything he needed to with the Steelers. I think part of it was they drafted a couple of defensive backs, rookies. And so he was kind of, the odd man out. But I think a development guy, maybe another year under the system, I think he could step up and do well. And last but not least, Patterson, veteran running back. I think he could be a guy that you could use. Again, we kept 2 running backs on this futures contract, keeping Patterson and keeping our boy Elijah Dotson. Well, I was a drawing blank on that. You know where we're going from there at this point. So then it's giving the next head coach and general manager an opportunity to make a decision on who they really want to have moving forward. Do they want to draft anybody? Do you want to keep these guys? Who knows how they're going to play it moving forward? So a lot to be said about this, right? Again, I'm very happy with the list that they came up with. What do you guys think about the list? I mean, do you think it's a good list? Do you think we should have kept, a few other people? How many of these guys do you think can actually start next year? What are your predictions on that, right? Do you think, hey, I think Jared Patterson can start next year? Well, tell me why. I'd like to hear it. Guys, as always, Andrew Boltbros. See you guys in the next one.